Hello everyone, welcome back. My name is Zane and this is Monument. Today I'll be focusing on Arrival. So what is Arrival? Arrival is a British startup that produced zero-emission public transport vehicles, and when it was listed on Nasdaq with a current valuation of 13 billion, it made itself one of the largest ever listing of a UK tech company. Company founder, Russian telecom tycoon and former deputy minister Denis Sverdlov owned a 76 stake in Arrival at the point of IPO, according to SEC filing, making his share worth 9.8 billion. Now that's a huge sum of money for just anyone, but for someone who has experience in telecom communication and a strategic businessman, making this much money through an IPO is a huge deal. That's almost 10 billion. For the first 5 years of Arrival, which was founded in 2015, Sverdlov founded the company himself, piling 450 million into it. Now in 2020, the company raised 300 million from investors Hyundai Motor and BlackRock and Vladimir Patani, one of Russia's richest people. The company completed its IPO through a SPAC merger with CIIC Merger Corporation, which is led by Peter Cuneo, the former chief executive officer of Marvel Entertainment, which is interesting that someone would leave from Marvel Entertainment towards transportation, electric transportation that is. After all, Marvel Entertainment is a movie company. So what do Arrival do? Well, as you can see on your screen, they make electric vehicles, and they do a very good job at it, because if you look at their interior of their vehicle, it's very simplistic, very functional, and very easy to interpret, easy to understand. Not to mention their vehicles themselves is extremely minimal. The company's IPO comes before it brought any vehicle to market. It's developing zero-emission vehicles for commercial use. These vehicles are made from a compositized material that the company says is lighter and cheaper than steel. Arrival said that its cars can be customizable to specific companies' needs. In October last year, it signed a deal with United Parcel Service to provide 10,000 vehicles and an option to buy a further 10,000, a deal worth 1.2 billion. And this is absolutely amazing for any startup, but especially for an electric car company, an electric company that's already making huge deals. Arrival will also begin trailing electric buses on a public road in the UK from this autumn in a partnership with British bus operation First Bus. An important thing to understand is for companies like this that have an IPO, they're listed on the public exchange that you can purchase shares. For people who live in the United Kingdom, such as myself, that actually gives us an advantage to invest in these companies, simply because these companies will be operating in our cities. Therefore, I will understand how the company operates and if the company is actually who they say they are, if the company is actually good with people, if people actually respect this company, and if the company can actually be a good leader in the electric space. I will get a first-hand view of everything that the company puts into the public eye. If the company is good to people in the UK and good to myself, then of course I will be much more understanding in terms of investing in a company like this, because I'm seeing it for myself, I'm experiencing it for myself. Now this is not financial advice, but I just wanted to make it clear that this video is made for educational purposes and for entertainment. An interesting statement that was made by the president of Arrival, Avinash Rugoba, told Schiff that the company will use money raised through its IPO to focus on bringing the electric vehicles to production. And I quote, "Our focus is on execution, having spent the last 6 years rethinking the process of designing and building electric vehicles from scratch and developing their own in-house technology to enable their own new method of production." Now let's take a look at microfactories. The company estimate that its total addressable market is worth 280 billion. Arrival said its project being cash flow positive by 2023 and generating a gross profit of nearly 4 billion by 2024. The company is betting on micro manufacturing and manufacturing process, which hopes to make it profitable even with limited sales. Instead of constructing one singular large plant, Arrival plans to build a network of microfactories close to the city where vehicles are purchased. There are more than 560 cities in the world which have a population of 1 million people, and each of these cities could have a microfactory producing 10,000 vehicles specifically tailored for the need of the market. So if I may weigh in my opinion on the idea of microfactories, I think it's absolutely brilliant. I like the idea because it takes a different approach to manufacturing vehicles. Vehicles are usually manufactured by large factories around the world, some situated in each continent. By adding a microfactory in some of the largest cities around the world, this actually cuts costs on transportation of vehicles. Because after manufacturing your vehicles in those cities, you won't need to move them hundreds and thousands of miles around the world because they're already made in the locations that you intend on them to be sold. So actually this idea is more than just brilliant. It's absolutely genius, and it cuts down on cost as well, which is amazing for any electric car company because saving on costs is more investments for your own company. More investments for your own company will equal profitability in the long run and a good culture of leadership in the long run. The founder of Arrival actually compared this idea to McDonald's or Starbucks. In another word, as franchises like McDonald's and Starbucks, they open many different shops in many different cities, and they sell from those specific areas to people in those areas who would like to purchase their products. Arrival is using a similar strategy but with electric cars. The company has two microfactories at present, one northwest of London in the town of Bicester and the other in Rock Hill, South Carolina, and it aims to have 31 plants by the year 2024. This decentralization allows for a more flexible and easily scalable approach, so we can rapidly respond to shifts in demand and specifications for different types of vehicles, explained Rugerberg. It also means we're able to deliver products that are 50% lower in costs than other EV companies and which are price competitive to fossil fuel equivalents, which means that competitors such as Tesla and competitors such as Canoo will have to deal with this competitor that is called Arrival, who is actually making vehicles in the city they'll be sold. No other company actually does this in the world that I know of, not in electric vehicles and not in petrol or diesel vehicle either. Arrival is probably the first to ever take a bold step like this. It's more than just bold, it's amazing. Every Arrival vehicle is produced in small footprint, low cost microfactories. Microfactories use new methods of cell-based assembly instead of the traditional automotive production line. They can be deployed quickly, making use of existing commercial spaces and producing any type of vehicle to meet the demand. Serving local community. Each microfactory serves a city and its community, sourcing from the local area and developing custom vehicles for the region. The microfactory helps to reduce the environmental impact of manufacturing. Product and process. At Arrival, we realize that product needs to be defined by the process that makes them. Designing vehicles for microfactories, assembly is core to our product development process and is an essential part of what makes our vehicles unique. If we take a look at the investors page on the Arrival website, we'll get a small summary of the Arrival shares. The current shares price is actually $18.29 per share. Now this is very good. It's a very good price, especially for an EV company that is still in their foundation stage. If we take a closer look at the Arrival shares information and we have a look at the shares statistics, we'll have a look and we'll see that the shares outstanding is 606 million shares outstanding. That's actually not too bad. When in terms of shares supply and demand, the less shares there is the higher the price of the shares will usually be, depending on if there is a high demand. So considering that they have 606 shares outstanding, that's their share supply, the public float is actually 51 million shares. The public float is actually the amount of shares the public have purchases. So at 606 million shares, I'll actually call that modest. I wouldn't say it's low, but I wouldn't say it's high. And high shares amount would be 1 billion, 5 billion and upwards. A low share amount would be 50 million, 200 million, or even 300 million. But a modest shares amount is around 500 million, 600 million, and even 700 million I can consider to be a modest amount of shares, which is good considering that the price is so low. If we take a look at the shares price and the shares chart, we'll actually see that back in December, I'd say late December, the share price was actually above $35. However, sometime in April, the share price actually dropped below $15, perhaps around $14 or $13, which is an extremely great price to buy this share at such a cheap price, which explains why it wasn't there for very long, which explains why it's now back up to $18 per share. If I'm being completely honest, I really do think a share like this could be at around $100 in the next 2 to 3 years, because in the next 2 to 3 years, the company Arrival will have a lot more microfactories situated around the world in some of the largest cities: New York, California, DC, and it continues. They've already got microfactories in Carolina and in London. They'll have microfactories in France, Paris, in Berlin, Germany, perhaps in Barcelona, Spain. They'll definitely have microfactories situated in Sweden and Norway as well. Norway as a country actually has an extremely large amount of electric vehicles, mostly because of how the government has set up the system in the country, incentivizing people to buy electric vehicles, which is very good. So a country such as Norway, I can definitely see Arrival go into Norway as soon as possible, because there's just a lot of potential. Especially for a company such as Arrival. Arrival aims is to produce electric vehicles that are competitive in price with traditional fossil fuel powered vehicles. Arrival's aim is to produce electric vehicles that are competitive in price with traditional fossil fuel powered vehicle and lower than other EVs. Arrival says its modular electric skateboard platform, which can be used on a large range of different types of vehicles, along with the Houston microfactories set up near major cities, are the key ingredients to its price competitive source. And I agree, the fact that they are striving to produce vehicles in microfactories in some of the biggest cities in the world is ingenious. But beyond that is their platform on how they build electric vehicles. You see, they made their platform simplistic so that they can extend their vehicles range quite simply, so that they have less impact on their overall costs as a company, so that their product line is seamless and simple, but at the same time effective and reliable. The plan is to have 4 vehicles in market by 2030. Now, of course, I've already covered this, but the interesting part is that they're building a strong order book for their products, including 10,000 vehicles for UPS. A UPS is a huge company in the world of delivering goods, delivering packages in a lot of regions around the world. So having a customer such as UPS gives you a huge standing ground for any startups and a company such as Arrival. Abelson said in an email to TechCrunch, "We're in the process of fitting out microfactories in the UK and US to fulfill orders, with more in the pipeline." And that's good. Like I said previously, I do believe a country like Norway is a perfect place to introduce their electric vehicles, their buses, their vans, and their further order lines. Something that I found really impressive with Arrival is the new method of designing EV vehicles. It says this on their website: "We take a strong portfolio of versatility integrated in in-house technology and it combined with assembly, rapidly scalable and small footprint Arrival microfactories. This approach enables the best possibility products with the best possible experience at significantly lower price than other EVs and comparable prices with fossil fuel vehicles. So to understand the lineup of the Arrival vehicle plans for the next 4 years, including this year, 2021, they're currently starting with their bus. Now they do have 2 vehicles in their product line. They've got a bus and they've got a van, but the plan is to eventually have a larger van in 2020, but their plan is to have a larger van in 2022, which is good, and eventually they'll have a small vehicle in 2023, which is even better. This strategy will actually help them to focus on the side of the business that can guarantee an income, such as buses. Many companies around the world who need electric buses will rely on companies such as Arrival, and many delivery and services companies that need electric vans will rely on companies such as Arrival. And the fact that they can use their current factories in London and Carolina to produce buses and vans is essential to their business model. This means that they can get clients immediately. They can start producing their vehicles and selling them to companies such as UPS and First Buses immediately. Some important parts of Arrival that I'd like to focus on is their technology. Aided by new thinking, we're creating systems that enable our products with innovation across components, software and hardware, and robotics. Arrival vehicles feature our plug-and-play components and modular design with a grid-based architecture. This permits quick assembly, easy replacement, and multiple configurations for variety of real-world use cases. So that's really good. They're making sure that when they're designing their vehicle, they're designing with people in mind. How will these vehicles be of ease of mind for people to be using these vehicles in the real world? Now on to the fun part, which is what I like the most, is the software. 90% of our employees are engineers, and half of those are software engineers. We're revolutionizing how products are designed, made, and operated to reduce costs and empower smart, efficient production. Not to mention materials. We develop a light, durable, and fully recyclable compositile material which significantly decreases the weight of our vehicles for enhanced range, efficiency, and greater payload. Now in terms of robotics, it's another fun point. Everything we make is designed for robot assembly, from components to materials, and our skateboard platform. Each element comes together in a single smart production cell within the Arrival microfactory, which makes it easy, right? They want their microfactory to be as easy to be operated and as simple to be operated, not to mention upgrades and repairs for the future, not to mention assembling and putting together these microfactories. They want it to be simplistic because there'll be many microfactories in many major cities. It's a great way to reduce costs for the company, and it's also a great way to speed up production overall. An important point I'd like to finish on is why Arrival is important to the world. Why do I believe Arrival is actually a brilliant company with brilliant ideas, and a company that is brilliant to invest in? Not financial advice, of course. However, I must be honest and speak my mind. This is just my opinion, and it's my opinion alone. Yes, I do believe Arrival is one of those companies that comes along once in a while in a generation. The fact that they took 6 years of their precious time to redesign and rethink how they will build electric vehicles and to plan it carefully. For Arrival, it seems like it's about making more than just a statement. It's about making an impact, not just leaving that challenge to Tesla, but actually joining Tesla along the way, along with many other electric car manufacturers, but doing it in their own way, in their own bold and impressive way of manufacturing vehicles. One of the things I like most is their existing order totaling 1.2 billion. We forecast to be profitable by 2023, and our projected revenue by the end of 2024 is 14.1 billion. That's an estimate, but I'd say considering the amount of pre-orders that they already have, this number will only rise in the near future. This estimate by 2024 could double and triple easily. This means the company will be more famous, more profitable, and more meaningful to the world, which means that their stock prices will skyrocket if the company achieves this goal, or in my belief, in fact, they might double or triple this goal by the end of 2024. I hope everyone has enjoyed this video today, and I hope you found it entertaining and educational. Of course, I've enjoyed making these videos, and working on the Arrival video has actually been one of the most fascinating videos, mostly because the company itself, Arrival, is an extremely fascinating company. The fact that they are planning to open more micro factories, it's absolutely brilliant. The materials they use, how they built their vehicles, and how they took 6 years of research to develop their company and their vehicles properly. Thank you for watching, and remember to leave a comment on any suggestions or another company you'd like me to review. Subscribe, leave a like, share this video with a friend if you think they'll find it entertaining or interesting or educational. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.